Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. It's just a couple of minutes after 3, so we are going to get started. Unfortunately, this is, I think, about the 4th time we have met in this virtual environment, and I'm sorry that we are continuing to meet in a virtual environment, but obviously it's the right thing to do, and the situation warrants it. So it would be nice to see all of you face to face, and hopefully we will get to do that sometime in the next, hopefully 6 months or so. I wanted you to see the topics that we are going to cover here, just to give you an idea of what we will talk about, and then we will have an opportunity for questions as well. And I am just going to move right in to our agenda, because I know some of you have classes to get to and other things to do. So we will start with our health update. We are joined by Dr. Rex Force, who has agreed to give us a little bit of an update on where we are with our COVID plan and also how it's going on campus and in the community. So Rex, I'll hand it over to you.
Thanks, Laura. Appreciate it, and appreciate being here. Hi, everybody. We are operating at ISU under our operational status of what we'd call a modified yellow. All of the information about our operational status is available on the Roaring Back webpage, and there are links to our operational status as well as some of the metrics for our campus as a whole. When we look at the on-campus trends for COVID, we actually saw a peak in cases a couple of weeks ago. Subsequent cases have declined over the last few weeks, and we'll see as of tomorrow, because we calculate our weeks Wednesday to Tuesday, we'll see how we're doing over the last 7-day period. What we know is that cases in the state of Idaho and in our region continue to increase. So the campus is apparently bucking that trend a little bit. However, I would caution everyone in terms of looking at those numbers, because we feel like there's a little bit of fatigue related to reporting. We've sent out additional communications to the campus community, especially our students, to make sure that they are reporting adequately to the COVID health team via the self-report form. And so we are still cautiously, I guess, optimistic when we see these decreases in cases in that trend, but I'm not 100% sure that it's not an artifact of that fatigue related to reporting and following up on these cases. We also know that testing has become more widely available in the community, and so faculty, staff, and students are at times being tested outside of sort of our campus testing processes and procedures. And if they're not reporting back to us, it's very difficult to make sure that we have an accurate count. So the bottom line as it relates to the on-campus trends are we want to encourage everyone who has a positive test or is exposed potentially, or even concerned about being exposed, to fill out that self-report form on the website. When we look at the community disease activity, I think many of you are aware that Bannock County moved into the high risk category last Thursday when the health department met. Ada County has continued at that level, and with other types of restrictions similar to Bannock County. The Board of Health declined, however, to institute a mask mandate, although they are strongly encouraged. I will just say that across the state and within our community and campus, that diligence with disease mitigation is still absolutely warranted. We are at a level currently that is roughly 35 times the disease activity that we saw the first week of June, which was kind of the low point in disease activity in our region. And these disease mitigation activities are still incredibly important, especially as we head into the more cold indoor time of year, where people are exposed at a higher density and for longer periods of time to others, whether it's family or other folks out in the community. So making sure that we're still wearing face coverings, that we're washing our hands or using hand sanitizer frequently, that we're maintaining distancing, staying home when people are ill. That's extremely important, that people not come to work when they're ill, and all the rest of the disease mitigation activities that I think most of us know by heart by now. So Laura, that's basically our report. The only other thing that I guess I would mention quickly is that we've been hearing a lot about hospitalizations and deaths. Deaths have been increasing in our state. We're over 630 deaths as of today, and unfortunately, these have been increasing. Over half of the deaths are reported in people over 80. But that means that half of the deaths are in people under the age of 80. And we have seen some mortality, unfortunately, in even the 30-year-old age group. Clearly, this is a disease that affects folks much more dramatically as they age. But I would say that death and hospitalization is a lagging indicator, right? I know a family friend whose mother just spent 17 days in the hospital. They were sick for several days beyond that. So when we talk about those in the hospital or those that have potentially and unfortunately passed away due to COVID, those infections were likely 2, 3, 4 weeks ago. So as we see this increasing trend in infections, we still haven't seen the bulk of the hospitalizations and deaths that go along with the new infections that have just occurred in the last week or so, which is very concerning as we head into the rest of November and December. And again, why that disease mitigation is so important. So that's about all I have, Laura. If you want me to say anything else or answer any questions, I'm happy to do so.
Thanks, Rex. We are going to hold questions for the end of the agenda, where we should have plenty of time to take questions. And Ginny Larimore is here again to help us with that. And I will introduce Ginny when we get to that point. But I think everybody's getting used to this drill now. So we will proceed as we have in the other town halls. I appreciate the health update, Rex. This is a College of Business and College of Science and Engineering town hall. And so this gives both deans an opportunity to give you some updates and to talk to you about what they want to cover. Dean Hunt, take it away.
Thanks, Laura. Hello, everybody. It has been a great few months despite the challenging circumstances here in the College of Business. I would just start by saying, as someone relatively new, who's just been here about 5 months, just how incredibly proud we all are of the great work that our faculty and staff have done to navigate through this semester and giving students the flexibility, both with the face-to-face classes that we're offering and the online classes, and some of the really innovative things that our professors are doing in the online classes. It's inspiring to me as a professor and very thankful, and I hear on a daily basis how much our students appreciate the great work of our faculty and staff. So I had a hard time, Laura, narrowing it down, but I'll just hit these 5 real quick in the interest of time. One is we have had a lot of great fundraising momentum the last couple months. We have 5 new permanently endowed scholarships for our College of Business students that we've gotten in just the last 2 months. We expect several more before we leave for winter break. And just as a teaser, I don't want to share today, but we will be announcing one of the most significant gifts in the history of our college before Christmas. So that's not on the list, but had a lot of success there. I tell people all the time as a marketing professor, there's not a better accounting program in the country than what we have at Idaho State University. My friend and colleague, Dr. Ray Rodriguez, and the accounting faculty and team has done amazing, and that was shown by us receiving recognition that Beta Alpha Psi recognized us as a superior chapter nationally based on all the categories that they have on academics, on leadership, on ethics. And so great shout out to them. So proud of our accounting students and some of the great events that Beta Alpha Psi has done. I've been able to participate in a couple of them, and just the way that they've been able to reach students both here on campus and remotely is a great testament to our outstanding accounting faculty. If anyone's looking for great radio shows, I'm biased, but I encourage you to listen to the Bengal Business Radio Show. It premieres the last Thursday of every month. Our second episode just premiered last week. And Laura, I was in the car. My wife and daughter and I were in the car, and we actually heard it on the radio. And even though I was there, obviously hosting the show, it sounded even better on the radio. So you can watch those on our Bengal Business site. You can find that on our webpage. You can also find that on KISU. It's been a great way to highlight not just our alums, but also some of the great research that our faculty is doing. We are thrilled with our new financial literacy program. So Scott and I have talked about this a lot. It's something that we designed not just for our business students, but the entire campus. As a father of a college freshman, I'm a big believer that every student on our campus would benefit by increased financial literacy knowledge. I say often that when I got my first job and they talked about having a 401k with a 6% dollar for dollar match, I remember not having any idea. I had an MBA, had no idea what that meant. And we want to make sure that our students are prepared to do those things as they start their careers and build their lives and their families. And so that 9-hour certificate fits in with almost any major. We've set the prerequisites up so there are no outside prerequisites. You're not going to have something where a student from political science or from theater or from engineering or from biology can't come into the program. They can take that. And I think it's a really important thing. We've got a new scholarship announcement that we're going to make on that upcoming as well. And we're going to have a brand new Bengal financial literacy show that will premiere and debut the first Thursday of each month starting in December. So a great way, each episode will kind of focus on a specific topic, like what's a good credit score and how do you get it, what strategies for managing your student loans, things like that. And those will all be archived so students across the campus and people in the community can go back out and listen to those. And then the final thing is we've had two great event series that we have started. Great shout out to Christine McCarty, who does an amazing job as director of our graduate programs. We set up a graduate speaker series. We had a leading entrepreneur and ISU alum, Roger Akers, who was here. We had a wonderful blended event with some students here with the distancing in room 104, as well as a lot of students on Zoom and those that watch recorded. And our new professional sales series, which we kicked off, which was great, which has also already led to a new endowed scholarship. But we're going to do those events with people in sales from different industries. So from healthcare and sports and real estate and a lot of different things. So a lot of momentum. The thing that we stress here, Laura, is, our kids, despite the challenges, they want to move forward in their lives, and we want to meet them in whatever format is safe and meet them to do that. And I just couldn't be prouder or more thankful to be part of the ISU College of Business family. So thank you.
Thank you, Shane. Really impressive amount of work is going on over there in the College of Business, and we're all very excited to see that. All right, Dean Snyder.
Thanks, Laura. And I just want to say, although I've said it before, but say it in front of this larger audience, welcome, Shane. You are an amazing partner for all of us here on campus, and I've really enjoyed working with you. To the COSE faculty and staff out there, if you have ideas about ways that your programs could benefit from collaboration with the College of Business, let me know, because Dean Hunt and his faculty and staff in the College of Business are very willing partners, and I really think we can work together to do some creative things.
And Scott, I appreciate that so much, my friend. And I want to echo that. I want to thank you for how gracious and kind you've been and your friendship and our partnership. And I appreciate, Mustafa and I got to go look at the disaster recovery stuff. I'm still bragging about that, Scott, and how awesome that is. But just such amazing things that you guys are doing in COSE, and we are thrilled to get to partner with you and help your students in any way that we can. And very, very excited for things ahead. So thank you, my friend, for that.
No, that's awesome, Shane, and thanks. Although I do sense there's a burgeoning radio gap. So, okay, so just a few updates from COSE. I think that, I'm frankly proud of so much of what everybody in the college is doing, particularly in this time. It's been an incredibly difficult, what are we going on now? 7-8 months of living in uncertainty for all of us, and particularly figuring out how we can best serve our students. And I just think we've done an excellent job college-wide of making that happen. So kudos to everyone who has worked so hard. I know that this situation where we've kind of the mixed course delivery scheme is causing more work for many of you than just one way or the other, but your dedication to making sure that we maintain contact with students is fabulous and does not go unnoticed. So thank you so much. So one of the other things that I'd like to talk about that gets us away from COVID for a while, which is a good thing, is the just consistent increase in awards and in external funding to support research and other activities in the college over the last 3 years. So we have moved from about 3 million, and these dates are artificial because I wanted to talk about what we'd done in the previous year from now. So normally in the grants and contracts world, we don't talk about November to October, right? But it seemed like a good comparison given that we're right at the start of November. And so you'll see that in 17 to 18, the college did about 3 million-ish worth of awards. That jumped dramatically in 18 to 19, where if you take the giant $3.1 million EPSCoR award just off the table for a moment, we jumped all the way from 3 million to almost $6 million in awards. You add that EPSCoR award, which we should, and we should all be very proud of that, and it takes the total awards to 9 million, although that's kind of a one-off, and I think it's more instructive to look at the base, what I would consider to be the baseline numbers, although again, we are very, very thrilled to have that EPSCoR award. This past year, sort of year to date from today, we've pulled in about $7.5 million in external funding. So this is a great consistent increase and really demonstrates the dedication of our faculty to supporting their activities, to supporting discovery and research, and to supporting our students, because so many of these awards ultimately redound to the benefit of our students. So just great job. I was really pleased to look at those numbers and find out what they were. We really have, in addition to our partnerships with the College of Business, we also are really growing and maturing partnerships with the Idaho National Laboratory, with On Semiconductor here in town, with Northwind, which is a surprisingly big engineering organization and environmental remediation organization up in Idaho Falls. And Shane has been partner to some of those conversations concerning Northwind and their needs. The Idaho Transportation Department and many, many others. And so we see a great deal of support, not necessarily just in external funding, but just in working with them to see how we can find good jobs for our students and educate our students in a way that's meaningful to particularly to local industry, since so many of our students come from this part of the world. I really do think as part of all of this, there's an increasing external recognition of the quality of our programs. Our programs, I think, are getting considerably more media attention and the attention of other outlets in recent years. I'm quite pleased with that. Shane has some great scholarship programs, and I'm thrilled to hear about those in the College of Business. We've implemented something that maybe I don't talk about as much here in the College of Science and Engineering, and our growing funding for this effort. It's called STEM is You, and if you take away that space between the is you catch the play there. I need to get some nifty graphic for it. But STEM as U is really meant to provide scholarships for underrepresented groups in the STEM field. So really women, people of color, and first generation students are all underrepresented in the STEM fields, and perhaps unfortunately more underrepresented here at ISU than they are nationally. And so this is something that I'm dedicated to working on for both our students and also working with the chairs and the departments to increase the number of underrepresented groups coming in to serve as faculty in the departments in our college, because that's huge to recruiting those students. I would also say, and this goes back to my original comment about how well I think everyone is doing and sticking with it through these tough times. We have offered most of our lab experiences in the college with an in-person component. We've done that in a variety of ways depending on the discipline. I think that's been greatly successful, and I know absolutely for a fact that that in-person laboratory experience is helping our students to understand the subject matter in a way that we just can't really pull off nearly as well online. So thank you to everybody who's been involved for that. That will remain an emphasis area for the college as we as a society move through this COVID business. Next slide. One announcement that I wanted to make to you all is I have discussed with many of you my desire to examine a substantial reorganization of the college that probably falls more into a school model. And the reason that is, and I won't take everyone's time with this today, but we have an awfully lot of very small departments, which creates a whole variety of downstream challenges for all of us, and primarily for our students. Excuse me. And so I would like to engage in a discussion, but everyone is so busy. People are stressed. It's tough to get folks together to have a good, meaningful, constructive conversation about this kind of important long-term change that would occur in the college. So in speaking with Laura, I decided that it was really in the best interest of the college and of all of the members of the college, just to hold that off until hopefully, sound of wood knocking, we can get together in the fall and next fall and really start to talk this through. The one thing, and I don't mean to leave on a negative note, but I do want to indicate to everyone that it's very much on my mind, and as part of the program health discussions that we'll be having in the college and across the campus, I do want to talk to the departments about the continuing enrollment challenges in the college. We dropped about 5.1% from last year to this year. And certainly some of that's attributable to COVID, but it's also kind of part of a longer term trend. And I'd really, like us to use this as an opportunity and to use the program health discussions as an opportunity to think about how we can collectively start to turn those numbers around. So thanks again to everybody.
Thanks, Scott. A really impressive amount of effort, especially in the grant generation going on in COSE. And I just want to say congratulations to all of the faculty in both the College of Business and in COSE for all the hard work you've put in to maintain face-to-face experiences for our students, to manage online transitions, to handle what has been a pretty tricky hybrid model on the fly, and to do all of these other things while you're doing that, launching new programs, applying for grants, generating products. All of that is noticed and appreciated by the Provost's office. And I am personally in awe of what you all do. And this period of time has been incredibly difficult, but also it's been, I think, an opportunity for us all to really see the benefit of what we all do every day, what you all do, I should say, every day, for the benefit of society. And there's probably never been a time when we needed it more. And as a historian, I feel like I can say that with some authority. So I appreciate very much everything that you all do. not to continue on a little bit of a, I wouldn't call this a negative track. We definitely have seen some positive outcomes from a revenue perspective. If you consider the experience that we're all undergoing here. And so for the update on the financial outlook, I'm going to turn that over to Vice President Nelson, who is joining us as well. Or is it Glenn? Is it you or Jen?
Okay. Yeah. Thanks,
Awesome.
Laura. Jen's here as well if I trip up. So first of all, going into this year, we had a very difficult spring budget setting process where you all may remember that we eliminated our structural deficit. Now, $2 million of the structural deficit we won't realize until next fiscal year. So we were planning to use about $2.5 million of reserves this year, $2.7 million of reserves in our quote balanced budget. So that's how we started the year. And then in addition, we had a $5 million holdback from the state of Idaho. And we said that we would meet that through two actions. The first being a salary freeze / slowdown that we anticipated we would save about 2.7 million from. And then we instituted the furlough plan for fall and spring that would generate another $2 million. So that's where we were going into this fall. As Dean Snyder just mentioned, in COSE, for instance, enrollments were down. Enrollments were down across campus. Overall, our enrollments were less than what we forecast. And particularly on the undergraduate side, graduate enrollments were up. And so for the fall, we were about $1.3 million short of our budget. Now, if we annualize that, it's around $1.3 million to $1.5 million. If we annualize that, we're projecting we're going to be off by about $3 million in revenues for the year for tuition revenues. Now, given what we're seeing around the country, that's not too bad. In addition, we're off our auxiliary service revenues down, the unions down. We haven't had the events, we haven't had the athletic events. And so we are short about $5 million there. Overall, what we're looking at though, and we've had some expenditure savings. Overall, what we're looking at is being 2.9 million worse than what we had planned going into the year. Now, given what I'm seeing, talking to my colleagues around the country, it looks pretty good. But nonetheless, it is a negative number and it's real dollars. And so our financial situation really has not changed significantly from when we made the decision to have furloughs this year. In fact, it's gotten a little bit worse. So admin council had met and we looked at that and said, the situation is still the same, if not a little bit worse than what it was when we made the decision for the furloughs. Therefore, the furloughs will continue as planned. Now, in regards to our financial situation, there are some variables that may impact how we land this year. Spring enrollment is the first thing. If we see our normal 10% fall to spring attrition, it won't change any of the numbers I've given you. However, if the attrition rate is much higher, that would mean we'd have less revenues. Athletics and other auxiliary activities in the spring, we're anticipating we're going forward at a reduced level, but your guess is as good as ours as to when we'll actually move into a better COVID environment and we're able to have those events. And then also we have the possibility of additional relief funds related to COVID. The president is working with the other presidents in the board office as we speak in asking the governor for some additional relief. So all in all, we're looking at being about $3 million worse this year than what we had planned. And I think given the extreme environmental situation we're in, it's not all that bad, but yet it's still not good enough for us to pat ourselves on the back and say we've delivered a balanced budget in this environment. In regards to building next year's budget, we'll have projections at a high level for both revenue and expenditures available sometime in January. So when we go into this second phase of resetting our budget, our second year of building our budget, we will have good revenue numbers at the start of the process. So we can then go through the expenses and get those aligned with revenues. So at a very high level, that's where we're at. And Jen and I can take any questions, or Laura, or Scott, or Shane.
Thanks, Glenn. I think there probably will be questions about the financials, but I'm going to run through just a few academic affairs updates, and then we will move to questions. These are just some reminders I thought it was important to touch on. We've had communications about all of these items, but as a reminder, we are creating a faculty impacts subcommittee. This is a group that will look at COVID impact on faculty in particular, and that includes tenure and promotion, evaluations, classroom environment, workload, and the impacts that we haven't even thought of yet. This committee will start meeting probably in the next month. I have asked the former chairs of the Faculty Senate, Rick Wagner and Laura Ahola Young, to chair this subcommittee. There will be one member of a faculty representative from every college on the committee, and then representation from HR, just as some guidance if that is needed, and academic affairs support, as well as an Office of Research representative, since we are seeing concerning long-term impacts on research productivity potentially. We want to get ahead of that and have some plans in place for how to mitigate these impacts and then how to manage those in the tenure promotion process. So that charge will go to this committee, which will start working and have about 3 months to create recommendations for the Dean's Council and the Leadership Council and Admin Council. This doesn't impact faculty who are up for tenure and promotion right now. That process is moving forward, and those faculty don't seem to be experiencing the significant impacts that could occur on a more long-term basis. So I don't want to indicate that anything this committee does will interfere with that current process. I'll take any questions about this here in just a moment. I also wanted to talk about Stop the Clock, and the Stop the Clock process for tenure track faculty who need, for emergency purposes, to stop their tenure clock. We have expanded the capacity of that policy to encompass all COVID impacts, and any faculty member who makes a request for a Stop the Clock deferral related to tenure and COVID will be automatically granted. So we've created a streamlined process, and the link is in the link is on the slide, and we are posting these slides as well. So you'll be able to link to that. It's also on the Academic Affairs website, and we sent out a communication about this not too long ago, just about the streamlined process to request a Stop the Clock deferral on the basis of COVID. And it doesn't have to have any information other than it's related to COVID. And then I wanted to mention that finals week, as you know, we changed the fall schedule. Finals week is the week after Thanksgiving. We're taking Thanksgiving as a partial instructional week, taking Monday and Tuesday of Thanksgiving week for instruction, and then wrapping up the term with an online finals week the week after Thanksgiving. I've had some questions about whether or not ITRC will be available for support during that week, and yes, they will. So this doesn't mean that the campus is closing. It means that our final exams will be delivered online, but the supports available on campus will remain. So I just want to make sure that that is clear. There are some exceptions to this. So if you, I don't believe any in the two colleges today. I don't think any exceptions in College of Business or in Science and Engineering, but we do have exceptions on campus. So you may encounter students who are in fact taking finals later than next week. They are almost exclusively in the Division of Health Sciences, and we had to make accommodations for clinical rotations that had already been set up. But outside of those programs that have exceptions, everyone will complete the term the week after Thanksgiving. We've made some changes to winter commencement as President Satterley has communicated. It was a very difficult decision. This was a rough one at Admin Council. We knew the right thing to do was to not have a face-to-face event, but it was just emotionally hard to cancel that event because we had such high hopes that we would be able to have a face-to-face commemoration of our students' accomplishments this winter. But the commencement team has come up with some really great virtual alternatives that will allow faculty to record videos to support students and have some very meaningful aspects. And I think you'll be happy with that final product. And that commencement has moved to December since we've moved it to a virtual format. And then the spring schedule. We've sent out some communications about this as well, but it's just a reminder that we changed the spring schedule calendar for COVID reasons by moving spring break to the end of the term. It's the week prior to the end of the term. And so that means that spring will look a lot like fall. We'll have a spring break and then an online finals week following that spring break, the week prior to the last week of the term. That link is live as well, so you can hit that, or also access the spring schedule multiple ways on our website at Academic Affairs, also in the President's Communications, and then on the registrar's website as well. We're starting on time. We're starting as we normally would have for the spring term, and we are also observing the 2 3-day holidays, Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and also President's Day. We are keeping those holidays in the mix, but moving spring break to the end of the term. And with that, I will turn it over to your questions.
Hey, Laura, I'm just going to quickly share with everybody the chat information on how to ask questions. We've had a question come in, so I'm going to ask you that one in just a second. But this will be recorded as in past town halls and will be posted on isu.edu/townhall. Additionally, on the YouTube link where that can be viewed later, we're going to put all of the resources that we covered today for anybody who is unable to click on those in the live Zoom. Okay, so Laura, I have a first question for you. I have seen a number of students who are falling behind in class due to COVID-19. They are often so sick that they cannot attend the virtual sessions either. While trying to be as accommodating as possible, I'm seeing a lot of students falling behind. This has been very difficult to navigate as of late. How are we supposed to tailor our classes to adjust for these disruptions? Is there some type of extension we can allow students beyond finals week and before grades are due to mitigate this impact if the students are willing to submit work beyond the end of the semester?
Yes, there is an incomplete process, and that's what I would recommend in this case, that those students work to negotiate an incomplete contract in which they agree that they will submit work after the term. You give them an incomplete grade. This is outlined on the registration website. And also we can help you with this in academic affairs if you have questions about how to implement it, or the dean's offices can as well. We always put a deadline on those incompletes, and so that they just don't hang out there forever. And then they will automatically convert to failing grades if they're not converted to other grades prior to that deadline. So it's important to maintain the deadline and to keep that in mind when you negotiate with a student. But yes, absolutely. I encourage incompletes. We have some other options as well. Through the Dean of Students, there are some, if the student has other concerns, if there are some mental health concerns in the mix here, if there are things that are just not manageable in this term for all of the courses, we do have a medical withdrawal process that is being utilized as well, unfortunately, this term by some of our students. And the Dean of Students office, Craig's office, can be really helpful in helping students make those decisions and in helping students navigate their choices and also the impacts on their financial aid. So it's important that those students speak to their advisor or speak to an advisor in enrollment management so that they're aware of these options and so that they're aware of those financial aid implications as well.
Okay, while we're waiting for questions, Laura, if there's anything else you would like to, I know you've covered a lot in your presentation. If there's anything else you want to touch on that you weren't able to touch on yet, that might be good while we wait for any more questions.
I wanted to speak just a little bit about the special circumstances that we find ourselves in historically in terms of COVID and also a historical election season, probably one of the more polarized election seasons in American history. And again, I feel qualified to say that. 1800 was very contentious as well, but that was a while ago. And so I think that it's important for us all to just be cognizant of the fact that people may be more emotional than normal on Wednesday, that you may encounter students who are feeling more stressed than normal in their classes. We've sent out some information to the deans and posted it on the Academic Affairs website, some tips for these difficult conversations, how to handle politics in the class. I know some of you who don't teach politics are not necessarily accustomed to having those conversations. So we've provided some resources in the event that that becomes necessary, or you feel like that is just something that has to happen, even though that was not a planned conversation. Everyone in the provost office is here to help you if you feel like these conversations are becoming too negative. I mean, certainly we can provide resources in the event that that occurs as well. So I just wanted everyone to be cognizant of that. And I think the number one thing is that we just need to be kind to ourselves and to each other. This is not a period of time where we can expect everything to be perfect, certainly, or normal. And I think that we all just need to give ourselves a break. If you feel like, you're not getting the grading done like you want to get it done, or maybe that class period Zoom session was more awkward than normal, or maybe something is just not clicking in your class. These are all things that I think are very normal given the circumstances. So I'm hoping that we can all just support each other and think about how to support ourselves and don't beat yourself up about these things right now.
Next question. What will be the format for spring classes? Will we be all remote?
Oh, that is such a great question. And I so wish I had a crystal ball because it would have been really helpful over the last 8 months. Right now, we are planning for a schedule that looks very much like the one we have now. The deans and chairs and program directors have been planning for a mix of offerings. In similar situation that we have right now, about 25 to 30% online. I'm still seeing a significant amount of hybrid. Hybrid courses have had, high flex courses have had very good success in some disciplines and less in others. So we're seeing just a shifting of some of those high flex offerings, but it's going to end up to be about the same as we have now in this term. And then special health plans for other face-to-face offerings that have to be in a hands-on environment. And we've talked a lot about those. Certainly the face-to-face labs in the College of Science and Engineering fall into that category. And we probably will need to look at those lab spaces again in a different way this spring. The health team is doing that. And there may be some changes made to some of those plans, but we are expecting to do what we're doing now. A mix of offerings, health plans for those hands-on face-to-face courses, socially distancing, all other face-to-face, and requiring masks, of course, and then monitoring the health environment. As Dr. Force has said, we are monitoring the health environment on a weekly basis. If it becomes necessary to move to a fully online, a fully distanced delivery modality, we will do that. We're not seeing that in the campus numbers at this time, but of course we're monitoring that every week. And the advice I've been giving faculty is, while we don't anticipate going to a distance environment, certainly hoping to see our numbers continue to come down and hoping to see community spread come down. That's not what's happening in the community right now. And as a result, we need to be prepared for that fully distanced delivery in the event that we're forced to do it.
Thanks, Laura. Next question. Are there any wild projections or guesses on number 1, expected enrollment, number 2, budget / cutbacks for 21-22?
I'm going to have Glenn answer the budget cutbacks question. In terms of enrollment, we're seeing some, interesting impacts from COVID in our enrollment numbers. And so it's hard to say if those will be replicated in the spring. We had significant declines in early college enrollment for the first time in about 7 years. That population's been increasing pretty dramatically for a number of terms. It was off significantly this fall. That has to do with the way the high schools managed delivery. Students who chose online learning were not able to take dual enrollment in a lot of our school districts. And as a result, it significantly lowered that number. We may see that happen in spring, although we're hoping that won't be the case as those choices have expanded in the high schools. And then, just the disruption that COVID is causing is creating disruption for our students. And so we are seeing students opt to take time off to be with their kids who are online schooling, for example. And we just don't know what that impact will look like. If you took out dual enrollment, as Glenn mentioned, we were off about 2% in our enrollment in the fall in total, significantly up in graduate students. So we're happy to see that, significantly up in transfer students. So that all kind of washes out to hoping for the same in the spring, only slightly better, and then hoping that we can maintain what we're doing into the fall of 2021, when hopefully we'll start to see a shift because the world is shifting in the positive way for COVID. Glenn, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I think from the budget perspective, one, we need to see what our enrollment projections are for next year. We'll have a better idea in January. That will tell us what a large number of our revenues will be. We also have to kind of wait and see what the legislature does. Will they fund CEC? Will they restore the 5% holdback? So at this point in time, I think it's just safe to say we're cautiously optimistic. We need to continue on the same type of spending patterns that we've been on. And we still need to be prudent about how we add staff and faculty during this time. So again, I don't think there's anything on the horizon that says major budget cuts are coming. There's also nothing on the horizon that says there's major budget increases coming either. So I think the good news is you all did the hard work of solving the structural deficit. And now our next heavy lift is recruitment and retention.
Thanks, Laura and Glenn. Next question. What is the guidance for faculty and staff currently as far as working remotely?
I'm glad you asked that question. We are in, as Rex said, a modified yellow category. So we're sort of yellow-orange, which means that we are encouraging telework where it is possible and where it does not impact instruction in a negative way, and where it is manageable for the staffing unit. So in most cases, that means on campus we have skeletal offices and rotations for staff, and it means for faculty, especially if they are already maintaining online office hours or online courses, that this is largely a telework environment if for faculty. So that is the guidance, and we are, as I've said, monitoring that on a weekly basis. But at this point, we are really encouraging people to minimize contact on campus as much as possible. If you have questions or you're running into problems with this, or there are specific questions related to the circumstances surrounding your specific office, I can certainly help navigate that with you and with your chair and with the dean.
Thank you, Laura. Maybe you can help me direct this question once I ask it. COSE is hiring more new faculty than what was lost this year, yet we are still having furloughs. Can you help us understand how this is possible?
Yeah, Laura, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead, Scott.
So, yeah, you're right. We are hiring in 6 different departments, and these are positions. One of them is a new position associated with the Polytechnic. The other are positions that have been opened up due to retirements. And we made the decision to go ahead and do that and ran that through the provost and admin council for vetting and approval, because of the critical role that those particular faculty positions play in providing continuity of education for our students. So if we did not fill those positions, we had some really, really difficult gaps in those departments that really would have overall affected both the quality of education and the ability of our students to complete their degrees in a timely fashion.
Thank you, Scott. Laura, that is the last of our questions. I'm going to post where you can access this recording after the fact, and then I'll turn it over to you for any closing remarks.
Thanks, Jenny. I know that a lot of you need to get moving to your class or to your meeting, so we are going to have a hard stop here at 4. But if you do have questions that come to you after this is over, please feel free to email those. You can email those just directly to me or to Callie Bell or to Jenny if those come to you after the fact. You could also attend a future town hall. We have multiple town halls Actually, those links probably just went to the colleges that are invited. Is that the case, Ginny? If somebody missed a town hall, can they go to a future one?
They absolutely can. It's every single town hall coming up on the agenda is available to anyone. And if you check your emails, the one from Marketing Communications that has all of the town halls in there, you'll want to use that instead of the town hall page because the email has the passcodes in them.
Awesome, thank you. Well, we have been through a lot together. This is the 12th week, I believe, of the semester. That by itself is a huge accomplishment. If you don't pat yourself on the back for anything else today, you should definitely do it for that because we've made it through 12 weeks of instruction. You've done an amazing job in getting us to this point, and we couldn't have done it without that dedication of our faculty. And there is no question in my mind that what you all have done is transformative for the future of the state, transformative for the future of our students. It has kept the dream alive for students who otherwise would not have had it. And thank you for doing that. That is a heroic act. And again, I just want to reiterate that everybody needs to just take it easy, make sure you take breaks. This is a hugely stressful time, and be kind to yourself and to each other. And thank you for tuning in today.